Charlie Chaplin stands in the middle of the Excelsior Garment Factory, watching 50 women bent over sewing machines in suffocating heat. Factory owner William Hartwell storms across the floor, slamming his fist on a workstation. "Work faster! Production is down 15% this week." What Charlie does in the next 6 minutes doesn't just challenge a greedy boss, it sparks a labor rebellion that transforms working conditions for thousands and proves that sometimes the most powerful weapon against injustice is refusing to look away. Lower East Side, New York City, August 14, 1931. Friday afternoon, 3:20. The Great Depression has been grinding America's working class for 2 years. Unemployment stands at 25%. Those lucky enough to have jobs accept any conditions, any wages, any treatment, because the alternative is starvation. Charlie is here researching his next film. Modern Times will be his statement about industrial dehumanization, but he needs to see the reality before he can portray it. His publicist arranged a tour of several factories to study working conditions firsthand. The Excelsior Garment Factory occupies the top 3 floors of a brick building built in the 1890s. No air conditioning, windows painted shut to prevent workers from getting distracted. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting harsh shadows that strain tired eyes bent over detailed needlework. 50 women work at individual stations, each responsible for one specific task in the assembly line production of women's dresses: cut sleeves, attach buttons, hem skirts, sew collars. The same motion, repeated thousands of times daily, for wages that barely cover rent and food. William Hartwell owns the factory, and 3 others like it. At 45, he's built a modest fortune by keeping labor costs as low as possible. Pay minimum wages, provide minimal breaks, maintain maximum productivity. Simple business mathematics. Charlie watches a woman in her 50s struggling to keep pace with the machine next to her. Her hands shake from exhaustion. Sweat drips from her forehead despite the electric fan pointed away from the workers toward Hartwell's office. She glances at the clock nervously. 3:21. Still 2 hours and 39 minutes until quitting time. "Mrs. Rodriguez," Hartwell calls out sharply, "your station is behind quota. Pick up the pace or find another job." Mrs. Rodriguez doesn't respond, just bends closer to her sewing, trying to move faster despite fingers cramped from repetitive motion. Charlie notices she's wearing a thin wedding ring, probably supporting a family on wages that wouldn't cover a single meal at the restaurants Charlie frequents. Charlie approaches Hartwell. "Mr. Hartwell, how long do these women work each day?" 10 hours, 6 days a week, standard for the industry." "What about breaks?" 15 minutes for lunch. Bathroom breaks are discouraged unless absolutely necessary. Time away from machines is money lost." Charlie watches another worker, younger, maybe 20, swaying slightly at her station. She hasn't looked up from her sewing in the 20 minutes he's been observing. "Mr. Hartwell, that young woman looks unwell." "Miss Chen works hard, good productivity numbers." "She looks like she's about to faint." "Mr. Chaplin, these people are lucky to have jobs. Half the city is unemployed. They should be grateful for steady work instead of complaining about working conditions." Charlie walks closer to Miss Chen's station. Her lips are pale. Her breathing is shallow. Small drops of blood dot the fabric where her needle-pricked fingers haven't healed properly. "Miss Chen, are you feeling all right?" She looks up startled, not expecting anyone to address her directly during work hours. "Yes, sir. I'm fine, sir." Her accent suggests she's first-generation Chinese-American, probably supporting family members who don't speak English well enough to find employment. "When did you last eat?" She glances nervously at Hartwell. "I ate yesterday, sir."
Yesterday, Charlie realizes she's working a 10-hour shift on an empty stomach because she can't afford both rent and food on her wages. Hartwell walks over. "Mr. Chaplin, please don't distract the workers. They're paid to sew, not socialize." "Mr. Hartwell, this woman is clearly malnourished. How can you expect quality work from someone who hasn't eaten?" "Her personal circumstances aren't my responsibility. She produces acceptable work or she's replaced." Charlie looks around the factory floor. 50 women, all showing signs of exhaustion, malnutrition, and physical strain, all trapped in jobs that pay too little to live on, but too much to quit because alternatives don't exist. Mr. Hartwell, what do you pay these women? $12 a week, above minimum wage. Charlie does quick mathematics. $12 a week for 60 hours of work, 20 cents an hour. His lunch yesterday cost more than these women earn in a full day. How much rent do they pay? That's not my concern. I'm curious about the economics. If they pay $8 a week for housing, that leaves $4 for food, clothing, medical care, everything else. Mr. Chaplin, I'm not running a charity. I'm operating a business. These women provide labor, I provide wages. That's the extent of our relationship. Charlie walks to the center of the factory floor. Ladies, may I have your attention for a moment? The women look up nervously. Talking during work hours is discouraged. Ladies, I'm Charlie Chaplin. I'm here learning about working conditions for a film I'm making. Some recognition flickers across tired faces. Even exhausted factory workers know who Charlie Chaplin is. I have a question. How many of you had lunch today? The women look at each other, then at Hartwell, unsure whether answering honestly will cost them their jobs. Please, be honest. I'm trying to understand your situation. Slowly, hesitantly, about 15 hands rise. How many had breakfast? Fewer hands, maybe 10. How many ate dinner last night? About 20 hands. Charlie turns to Hartwell. Mr. Hartwell, 30 of your 50 employees haven't eaten today. How do you expect them to maintain productivity? That's their personal responsibility, not mine. Mr. Hartwell, you pay wages so low that your workers can't afford food. Then you demand increased productivity from malnourished people. Do you see the contradiction? I pay market wages for unskilled labor. You pay starvation wages for skilled work. These women are creating intricate garments that will sell for 20 times what they earn in a week. Hartwell's face reddens. Mr. Chaplin, you're disrupting my workplace. I'm observing your workplace. What I see is 50 human beings being treated like machines. Charlie walks back to Mrs. Rodriguez's station. She's still sewing, but her hands tremble more noticeably. Mrs. Rodriguez, how long have you worked here? 3 years, sir. Do you have children? 2 boys, sir, 7 and 9.
What did they eat for breakfast? She looks down. They shared an apple, sir. An apple. 2 children splitting one piece of fruit while their mother works 10-hour days to earn wages that won't buy adequate food. Charlie turns back to Hartwell. Mr. Hartwell, this woman has worked for you for 3 years. Her children are sharing an apple for breakfast while she sews dresses that will retail for more money than she earns in a month. Doesn't that seem wrong to you? It seems like business, Mr. Chaplin. Supply and demand, labor economics. It seems like exploitation disguised as economics. Hartwell walks closer, lowering his voice. Mr. Chaplin, you're a wealthy entertainer. You don't understand business realities. These women need these jobs. If I raise wages, I raise costs, lose customers, close factories, eliminate jobs entirely. Lower wages mean more employment. Lower wages mean employed people who can't afford to live on their employment. That's not my problem to solve. Charlie looks around the factory again. 50 women pretending not to listen while continuing to work, afraid that stopping will cost them jobs they can't afford to lose but can't afford to keep. Then Charlie does something that changes everything. He walks to the center of the floor and speaks loudly enough for everyone to hear. Ladies, I want to make you an offer. Anyone who wants to stop working right now and join me for a proper meal at a real restaurant, I'll pay for the food and compensate you for the lost wages. The sewing machines stop. 50 faces turn toward Charlie. Hartwell's face turns purple. Mr. Chaplin, you cannot interfere with my employees during work hours. I'm not interfering. I'm offering them a choice. They're under contract to work until 6 o'clock. They're human beings with the right to leave if they choose. Mrs. Rodriguez stands up slowly. Mr. Chaplin, if we leave, we lose our jobs. Mrs. Rodriguez, you deserve jobs that pay enough to feed your children. If this job doesn't do that, then it's not really employment, it's organized starvation. Miss Chen stands up next, then another woman, then another. Hartwell shouts, "Anyone who leaves this floor is fired immediately. No references, no severance, no return." More women stand. They're choosing uncertain futures over certain exploitation. "Ladies," Charlie says, "there's a restaurant 2 blocks away. We're going to sit down like human beings and have a proper meal while we discuss what fair employment looks like." 37 women walk out of the Excelsior Garment Factory that afternoon. The remaining 13 need their jobs too desperately to risk losing them, but they watch their colleagues leave with something between envy and admiration. At the restaurant, Charlie learns about their lives. Mrs. Rodriguez works to support her children and her mother, who's too old to work. Miss Chen sends half her wages to relatives in China while living in a shared apartment with 6 other women. Others support disabled husbands, sick children, unemployed relatives. Ladies, you're not just sewing dresses, you're supporting families, communities, entire networks of people who depend on your labor. That labor has value. You have value. Over the next 3 hours, Charlie helps them draft a list of demands: living wages, adequate breaks, safe working conditions, the right to organize without retaliation. "Mr. Chaplin," Mrs. Rodriguez says, "Mr. Hartwell will never accept these demands." Mrs. Rodriguez, there are other factories in this city, factory owners who treat workers like humans instead of machines, and if there aren't enough of those factories, then we need to create them. Charlie doesn't just buy them dinner, he helps them organize, connects them with labor lawyers, provides financial support while they look for better employment, uses his celebrity status to publicize their situation in newspapers and magazines. 6 months later, Mrs. Rodriguez is working at a unionized factory, earning twice her previous wages. Miss Chen is taking English classes at night while working at a garment cooperative owned by its employees. Most of the others have found better employment or started small businesses with microloans Charlie helped arrange. The Excelsior Garment Factory closes within a year. Hartwell claims it's because of labor disruptions and outside agitators. Actually, it's because workers started demanding to be treated like human beings instead of production units. When Modern Times is released in 1936, critics recognize the factory scenes as devastatingly accurate portrayals of industrial dehumanization. But Charlie knows the film's real power comes from spending an afternoon with 50 women who taught him that dignity is not a luxury, it's a requirement for decent society. Years later, during his FBI investigations, government officials cite Charlie's factory visit as evidence of communist sympathizing. They claim his support for workers' rights indicates dangerous political radicalism. Charlie responds, "If believing that working people deserve living wages makes me a communist, then Christianity is communism. If thinking children shouldn't go hungry while their parents work full-time makes me radical, then basic human decency is radical." The rebellion at the Excelsior Garment Factory lasted 6 minutes. The changes it sparked lasted decades. Not because Charlie Chaplin was a revolutionary, but because he refused to pretend that exploitation was acceptable just because it was legal. Sometimes the most powerful act of rebellion is the simplest, treating people like people instead of like machines that happen to need food.